Hello, Old Outdoor Broad here, coming to you from Canyonlands National Park. You can kind of see that giant rock formation behind me in the campground, and this is actually a pretty nice campground, and this is a nice site. Plenty of room in the driveway for what I need, and a nice combination of shade and sun. I say combination because I need some sun for my solar panels, and I just soon not set up shade if I don't have to. So some good natural shade here. But I didn't start this to talk about the campground. What I wanted to spend some time talking about in this video is heat. And the reason I was inspired to do this is a couple of things. Number one, it's just getting warmer. This location is about 4,500 feet above sea level, and it's going to be above 90 today. As a matter of fact, it's going to be above 90 the whole time that I'm here. Now that said, it's August. I am not surprised, but that's pretty warm. So let me just tell you what I know about heat, and I'm talking about this again because I'm old. I am the old outdoor broad, and I've noticed some things about myself given that I live in Southwest Arizona, and I have been living there and working there for the past 18 years. I'm retired now, but I've had a lot of experience myself personally, and then watching others and seeing the impacts of heat and how your body copes with it over time. So what I notice is it's getting warmer, and if I'm going hiking in an area like this, which I'm going to hike tomorrow, I notice I just can't stay out as long because it's just getting too hot too fast, right? So you'll see a lot, you know, if you look at all trails, start early, bring lots of water. But the bottom line is I have what I call, I don't know what anybody else calls it, but I call it a heat quotient. And how I see that is I can only have so much exposure to hot weather and gobs of sweat before it's probably going to do permanent damage. So let me talk about that. That's what heat does. When you start having heat-related events, it's kind of like lead poisoning. It accumulates, especially as you get older, and just like a lot of other things, you get a whole lot more sensitive to it as you get older. So let me tell you how my epiphany about this happened. This would have been probably 5 years ago, 4 to 5 years ago. All right, so I would have been in my mid-60s. 5 years ago, I would have been 64. And I was still working, so I still had a limited amount of work exposure. But it was the weekend. And like I said, I live in southwestern Arizona, where 6 months out of the year, it's going to be right around 100. Sometimes it goes all the way up close to 120. And then sometimes it is a little bit less than that. But for 6 months, it's going to be right around 100 outside. So what I looked for was, what can I do in that kind of weather and survive it? So I took up golf. Now keep in mind, I'm only doing this on the weekends because I'm working the rest of the week. Anywho, this one Saturday, I got up and I walk early in the morning. Now, in the summer, where I live, I only walk 2.5 miles. I get out early, so, you know, it's southwestern Arizona. If I'm lucky, it's in the 80s, but it could be in the 90s. And short walk, 2.5 miles. In the winter, just so you can compare, I do about 4.5 miles. Did my walk, and then about mid-morning, I thought, okay, I feel fine. I didn't feel anything weird when I got home from my walk. Obviously, where I live, I keep it cool. And felt good, so okay, I'm going to go play golf. Now, back then, I didn't own a golf cart, so I had to go out when the golf course provided them. So this was mid-morning, so about 10:30. So I got back from my walk around 8 in the morning, and then at 10:30, I said, okay, time to go play golf, and then my activities for the day will be done. When I got back from playing golf, I got back about 1-ish. By now it's over 100, of course, and I carry plenty of water and some Powerade and a banana. It's not like I go out, willy-nilly. But I got home and I walked into my cool condo with my ceiling fan going, and I was getting my stuff put away, and I noticed I'm not cooling. I'm staying hot, staying warm. And I thought, ooh, that's not good. And I even felt a little nauseated. So it was clear to me at that point that I had some kind of a heat reaction. And now I have to rethink how I manage heat. So my question to myself was, do I need to just limit myself to one major activity, in this case, either taking that walk or playing golf, or do I just need more recovery time, hours in between the two activities? And the only way for me to know this was to run experiments. Now, as my experiments have been run, what it turns out is I just needed more recovery time. Even though I felt fine after my walk, I wasn't ready for the degree of exposure that a round of golf exposed me to. Now keep in mind, in golf you're moving, you have the cover on the cart, so you can always manipulate shade, and when I'm playing by myself in the summer, there's no one else out there, so I'm moving really quickly. So from that perspective, it's not a ton of exposure, but you're still exposed and you're still in the heat. So the moral to this story is I learned that my sensitivity to heat had changed, and that I really needed to pay attention to it, because obviously the older I get, the more sensitive to sun I'm going to get. And so now I really manage that, meaning if I've got something, a project that I have to do in the garage, okay, the garage is hot in the summer, right? I have a fan, but still, it's not like being in an air-conditioned building. Then I have to manage that, because I'm only going to be able to tolerate X amount of exposure, and then I have to come in, rest, and stay out of it. So that's how I have to think. And it's no different on the trail. And what I have noticed is that I started to cut some hikes short, not because I'm tired per se, or my muscles are going to give out, or I don't want to keep going, but because I feel that I'm reaching the limits of my heat quotient. So I don't really know how else to describe that, but I wanted to share this because, God, what was it? It was only like probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. A gentleman over the age of 70 hiked into the bottom of the Grand Canyon and then tried to turn around and hike out, and he died. Now, I can't say he died because of heat, and I can't imagine that an impact of heat of some kind wasn't a part of that death. I will also say this about the Grand Canyon. I was there about 3 or 4 weeks ago at the South Rim, just like out here at Canyonlands. We're at 4,500 feet here, but tomorrow when I get on a trail, odds are it's going to descend. It's going to be going down into canyons, right? Just like the Grand Canyon. And the lower you go, the hotter it's going to get. And when I was there, I was on the Bright Angel Trail, and I was resting. This really nice rest spot, this nice long rock that was like a bench, ironically. And some folks came up and sat with me, and the woman was younger than I, but she was in her 60s. And she was saying how she wanted to keep going. She wanted to get down to Havasupai Gardens, which was still, I don't know, about 3 miles or so, I think, down the trail. And she was with her kids and some friends of them, so they were much, much younger. And they were telling her, don't go, you can't do it. And she was talking about, 20 years ago I do it, I did it, it's not that bad. Now keep in mind, it's getting hotter as the day goes on, and it's going to be hotter down at Havasupai Gardens than it is where we're sitting. And you're going to have to come up. You know, the thing about canyon hiking is you're doing, quote, quote, the easy part in the cooler part of the day, and then you've got the climb in the afternoon, and you really need to be aware of what that means. And then when they were talking and her kids were saying, no, you probably need to turn around now, it came up in the conversation that she had fallen earlier on the trail. Fortunately, they talked her into not going down because she said, I'll just go and I'll meet you guys later. And I passed them going back up. And then I saw one of the kids way up almost to the top. And I said, how's she doing? Because she hadn't come up yet. And I was kind of watching for them, you know. And he said, oh, she slowly but surely, but it's a good thing we decided to turn around. So again, I remember when I was in my 30s and 40s too, and when a lot of things were a whole lot easier, but that is not the reality anymore. You have to be really, really careful. One other note about that experience on Bright Angel Trail. When I was resting a little bit in the shade, a volunteer ranger was heading down. Now this is, you know, in the afternoon. I think it was around 1:30, something like that. And I'm thinking, wow, it's kind of late to be going down because he's going to be coming back up in the hottest part of the day. And I don't think he was my age, but he was no spring chicken either, right? And I asked him, hey, you're heading down. What's the deal? And he said, well, they're asking us to do this now, to basically to shepherd everybody off the trail and start getting them back up and make sure there's no one in trouble who can't make it out. And he was only going down, I believe he said, to Havasupai Gardens, which is still quite a ways and quite a hike out. But, you know, I'm going to assume he's a volunteer ranger and he knows his limitations, knows what he can do. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say about heat. I can't emphasize this enough. It's dangerous. Please know your heat quotient. The way you know that is to pay attention to how you're responding and how you're feeling. And if you're not sure, if you're out on the trail and you feel tired and you're aware you're sweating a lot, but you're not sure that you're just out of shape or if it's heat related, my advice is err on the side of caution. Assume it's heat related, rest, and turn around and come back. You know, speaking of rest, when I take my lunch, I stop for a half hour, obviously in the shade, but skin cancer, right? You've heard me say that a gazillion times. So I stop, I rest in the shade, and I take at least a half an hour. You know, again, those aren't things I necessarily did when I was younger, and I do them now, okay? So please learn your heat quotient. Always know your limitations. Be safe out there on the trails, and I will see you in the old outdoors. Thank you very much for watching.